Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to tackle those really compelling stories happening right now and, pull out the insights you need.
To stay really informed.
Exactly. And today, wow, we're diving into the sheer power words have, especially when they get amplified, like everywhere online.
Yeah, because sometimes words, they don't just shape how we see things, they can spark actual firestorms.
For sure. And we're looking at a really big one today, a landmark Supreme Court ruling from India. It just came down August 25th, 2025.
And this decision, it slams head on into that really tricky, often difficult balance between free speech, comedy, and, well, accountability, especially now in the digital age.
Right. So our mission today is to really unpack this pivotal judgment.
We want to get into not just the what, but the why, the deeper layers and what it actually means for anyone creating content online.
And for all of us watching it, frankly.
Absolutely. We're exploring how humor, which can be such a great tool, sometimes just goes completely off the rails.
Especially when it targets communities that are already vulnerable.
Exactly. And then, what happens when the highest court steps in and says, okay, stop, here's the line?
So let's set the scene. Where did this all start? There's this popular YouTube show, India's Got Latent.
Ah, yes. If you follow the Indian comedy scene at all, you probably know it. Known for, really irreverent humor, quick banter.
Features some big names in comedy, right?
The big names. You tune in expecting satire, maybe some jokes that push the envelope a bit.
That's the expectation.
And maybe that expectation is why what happened next felt so jarring to so many people. The host, Samay Raina, has a big name himself.
Yeah, widely recognized.
Him and then fellow comedians Vipul Goyal, Balraj Paramjeet Singh Ghai, Sonali Thakkar, and Nishant Jagdish Tanwar. They made these comments.
And these weren't just slightly off-color jokes. They were seen as deeply offensive.
Almost universally condemned, yeah.
And the really crucial part here, the part that's just heartbreaking, is who they targeted. Individuals living with spinal muscular atrophy.
Right. And for anyone listening who might not know, SMA is this rare genetic disorder. It seriously affects muscle strength, movement.
It's not minor. For many, it's incredibly severe, life-altering. Needs constant, expensive medical support, often for life.
The reaction was, well, immediate and huge.
Social media just exploded, right?
Completely. Disability rights activists, various groups, they were immediately voicing their outrage, saying these jokes weren't just bad, they were actively trivializing the immense struggles people face daily.
And it went beyond social media. FIRs, those first information reports.
Police complaints, essentially. Yeah, multiple FIRs were filed across India against Raina and the others.
But the game changer seems to have been the SMA Cure Foundation.
Absolutely. They're an organization supporting people with SMA. They didn't just, tweet about it. They took it straight to the Supreme Court.
Which is a pretty significant step.
Huge. It makes you think, doesn't it? About how advocacy groups, even smaller ones, can use the legal system now, especially with digital issues.
They weren't just seeking justice for this one incident. It feels like they were forcing the issue, making the court define the boundaries for online speech and vulnerable groups.
A very deliberate strategy.
Yeah.
And it led straight to August 25th, 2025. The Supreme Court, Justice Surya Kant leading the bench.
And the ruling they delivered was, well, you described it as unyielding.
That's the word, unyielding. And this wasn't some quiet slap on the wrist.
No, far from it.
The court explicitly ordered Samay Raina and the other 4 comedians to issue public apologies. Very public.
And specifically where they had to apologize is key, isn't it?
Or crucial. Not just in court or in a press release.
Yeah.
On their YouTube channels, on all their social media handles.
So the apology had to reach the same audience.
Exactly. The message was crystal clear.
Yeah.
The offense was public, digital, so the remedy has to be public and digital too.
Justice Kant reportedly had some strong words during the hearing as well.
Oh yes, very sharp. He emphasized that free speech is fundamental, sure, but it is absolutely not a license to demean or ridicule vulnerable groups.
He even called the comedians over-smart, suggesting they thought they could somehow dodge accountability because it happened online.
That's right, believing they were somehow above it. And what's really fascinating is how the court viewed its own reach, its jurisdiction.
They mentioned Raina's show in Canada.
Yeah, in Edmonton. Apparently he'd made a joke there about the whole controversy, thanking the audience for, quote, paying his legal fees.
Oh, wow.
And the court brought that up directly. Justice Kant said something like, these youngsters think we are an outdated generation. They don't know the jurisdiction this court enjoys.
So a clear message. You can't just cross a border and think Indian law doesn't apply, especially not in the digital world.
Precisely. It was a powerful statement about global reach.
So they weren't just demanding apologies. They were really flexing their judicial muscle here. Did they hint at anything more?
They did. There's a clear indication of potential penalties down the line. And they directed the commissioner of Mumbai Police to ensure the comedians would appear if they were summoned again.
So definitely underscoring the seriousness. This wasn't a suggestion.
Not at all. A very firm judicial spotlight.
Yeah.
Real consequences for online speech.
And this ruling, it doesn't exist in a vacuum, does it? It connects directly to India's broader push for disability rights.
Absolutely. It really reinforces the foundation laid by laws like the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act, 2016.
That's the act covering 21 types of disabilities, mandating equal treatment.
And protection from discrimination. SMA is explicitly included in that list, so this ruling adds weight to those existing legal protections.
And understanding the severity of SMA really drives home why this was so offensive. The challenges are immense.
Immense. And the cost of treatment you mentioned earlier, gene therapy costing upwards of, 16 crore?
Per dose. It's staggering. It highlights the medical, financial, and emotional burden.
So when humor makes light of that reality, it's not just a bad joke. It's causing real pain to a community already facing incredible hurdles.
And that's where groups like the SMA Cure Foundation come in. Their work.
It's tireless, raising awareness, fundraising. It makes the comedian's remarks feel even more, egregious.
And you could argue the court's intervention also shows a growing awareness of the sheer influence these content creators have.
Definitely. Seemingly harmless jokes broadcast to millions can easily perpetuate harmful stereotypes. They have real impact.
Which throws us right back into that classic debate. Free speech and comedy versus responsibility.
It's the core dilemma, isn't it? Comedians often argue, and sometimes rightly so, that humor needs to push boundaries. It needs to tackle tough subjects.
To make us think, maybe even feel uncomfortable sometimes.
But the counter-argument, which the court clearly sided with here, is that this shouldn't happen at the expense of marginalized groups, people whose lives are already difficult.
So how did the court navigate this using the law? You mentioned Article 19.1.
Right. India's constitutional guarantee of free speech. But it's not absolute. The Constitution itself allows for reasonable restrictions.
In specific cases.
Yes, things like public order, decency, morality. And the court essentially ruled that mocking persons with disabilities crossed that line into indecency and lack of morality. It wasn't a reasonable exercise of free speech.
That's a very clear line they drew. And it raises that huge question for the digital age.
What is the responsibility of a content creator when their voice reaches millions, instantly, globally?
And how do you even enforce that?
Well, the court's answer here was the public platform-specific apology. It's not just punitive, it's corrective, aimed at the same space where the harm occurred. It's a direct response to how platforms like YouTube work.
Okay, let's talk about the people involved for a second. Samay Raina, huge following, known for quick, edgy humor.
Definitely. But as this shows, that edginess can cross lines.
And it wasn't just him. Vipul Goyal, Balraj Sonali Thakkar, Nishant Tanwar, all held equally responsible.
Yes, accountability across the panel. But what's interesting, too, is that this isn't like the only time the court's been looking at this sort of digital content issue recently.
You mean Ranveer Alabadia, the podcaster?
Exactly. The Ranveer Show. He wasn't named in this August 25th ruling specifically for the apologies, but he was caught up in related controversies linked back to India's Got Latent.
Right. The court had actually restricted him and Raina and someone else, Apurva Mukhija, back in March 2025.
Yes, from airing shows related to that same episode. But then later, the court allowed Alabadia to resume his podcast.
If he stuck to standards of morality and decency.
Precisely. So looking at both cases together, you see a clear pattern. The court is actively engaging with digital content and setting expectations.
And the public reaction to the Raina ruling, pretty divided, wouldn't you?
Oh, absolutely. You just have to look at platforms like X, formerly Twitter. It's a total spectrum.
On one side, people strongly backing the court, saying things like,
Justice Surikant is right. Freedom of speech isn't a free pass to mock the vulnerable. For them, it was about upholding basic dignity.
But then you had a lot of pushback, too. People worried about censorship.
Yeah, asking, where do we draw the line now? Does this stifle comedy? That kind of thing.
And Raina's fans often defended his style, saying it's intentionally provocative, maybe not meant maliciously.
We even saw that reaction in Canada, right? Laughing at the legal fees comment.
Which brings us to that concept disability activists often raise.
The punching down argument.
Exactly. Their point is the comedian's intent doesn't really matter if the impact is harmful, especially when you're targeting a group that's already marginalized.
It fundamentally shifts the focus from what did you mean to what did your joke do? And mocking a vulnerable group is seen as, well, ethically wrong in comedy by many.
So, looking at the bigger picture, this Supreme Court directive feels like more than just about these 5 individuals.
Oh, it's definitely setting a precedent, a major one for content creators in India.
A clear signal that online platforms aren't some kind of Wild West, legally speaking.
Right. What happens online has real-world legal teeth. It also shows the judiciary stepping further into regulating digital media.
Which is different from traditional media, usually.
Very different. Traditional media often has editors, oversight, YouTube, social media. Creators can publish directly, almost instantly, which is great for democracy maybe, but risky.
And those public apologies the court ordered, they serve 2 functions.
I think so, yeah. One is accountability for the individuals, but the other is education for their huge audiences, making them aware of the impact, potentially shifting how people think about these things.
Do you see this as a kind of wake-up call for the whole influencer world in India?
It could be a wake-up call about self-regulation, maybe, especially on sensitive topics, disability, caste, gender.
It really underscores that idea. With great reach comes great responsibility.
Absolutely. This whole deep dive, it boils down to that tension, free speech versus responsibility. And the court drew a very clear line here about dignity.
It's a powerful reminder, isn't it? Words have weight, especially now when they travel the globe in seconds.
Ultimately, yeah, this case is about more than just jokes. It's pushing towards, hopefully, more empathy, more inclusion.
It challenges everyone involved, creators, platforms, us as the audience, to be more critical about the content we make and consume.
So maybe the thought to leave everyone with is this. We live in a world where creators have this incredible, unprecedented power. How do we, as a society, as individuals, make sure humor is used to uplift, to provoke thought, maybe challenge norms?
But without ever punching down, without hurting those who most need support.
Yeah. How do we ensure that balance? It's definitely something worth thinking about next time you're scrolling.